What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's live stream. We've got a very important topic today that so many people have voted for on Twitter and Instagram. The big topic has to do with trading emotions, trading psychology, uh, managing, and specifically managing hope, fear, and greed. Well, especially when it happens right in the middle of the trade. And it I've seen this happen to so many traders that I've coached over the years, so many traders that I've met across countries, so many to myself, and it's something that I've seen happen again and again, and it's still something to this day, like in the middle of the trade that I'll still deal with sometimes, right? Like so, hope, fear, and greed, these emotions. It's not. I don't think that it's something that that you're just pass out, like it's just like some milestone, like you pass it and then you never have to worry about it again. There's work involved in this, and it's continuous preparation and mindset. And so I want to walk you through some strategies that I use first in the preparation, and then to talk about, well, why does this stuff tend to happen right in the middle of the trade? So let's get into it. We've got some people joining us already. Caleb, thanks for joining. Caleb's one of our elite members, and so Caleb, if you're going to be sticking with us for this, I'm going to be picking on you uh, a bunch in this, just to like ask questions and get your involvement. First off, let me know that you're able to see and hear me all right. Uh, yeah, just go ahead, type into the chat. Just want to make sure that everything is up and working. Still getting used to StreamYard, this platform. So go ahead, let me know if you're able to see and hear all right. Actually, it kind of looks like the screen is a bit fuzzy here. Let me take myself and back into this live stream. All right, good. Yeah, I'm not sure why the stream is a bit fuzzy, but at least you're able to hear everything all right. Okay, so let's get into some of uh, why or ways to prep your mind for trading. I'll give you a few of the things that I do to help prep my mind for trading. And Caleb, you're very familiar with this. My prep actually starts the night before, and it starts with this here. Let me share my screen. Screen number 5 over here. So this is how my preparation starts. It's starting from the evening before, and why don't I make that a bit bigger? Yeah, that looks better. In fact, well, why don't I blow it up and take my face off the screen for a moment? So it actually, my preparation for trading starts the night before. So the night before, I'm starting to prepare all this here, and I'm doing this towards the end of the trading day. So I'll go through this sheet and I'll look at the major indices and start to see, well, which way are things trending, up, down, or sideways. Well, with you are, and this is a process that I feel could be done by anybody, whether you're doing something like this, right? Like I'm pointing to the screen lot, like it's over there, but I'm looking at the live stream. It's actually this way on the live stream. So looking at this spreadsheet, you could make something similar to that yourself, whether you're looking at the same kind of metrics as I am or not. There you can go and start to look at, well, whatever it is that you look at, whether you're looking at technicals, fundamentals, well, whatever it is, uh, you could build a spreadsheet that you could look at a few key data points at towards the end of every single day, and start that preparation, right? So that way you know uh, where the market's at, where you are in relation to the market. So I go at the end of each day and I'm filling this thing out here, and it's tuning me into, well, how the market is performing, how I'm performing within the market, and any trades that I'm holding as well. I have this spreadsheet here. This is my own personal trading journal, and this is something that I share with members. So it starts with that, and then in the morning, what I'm doing, right? So the preparation starts the evening before. Then the morning of, I'm waking up, I'm meditating, I'm getting hydrated, putting vitamins in, and then I'm hitting the gym. Right, so it's like and it doesn't have to be that for you, right? Like if you're thinking like, well, what can I do? I'm busy. I've got all these other obligations. How can I do that for myself? Well, it's a we could all get active, right? Well, whether you're going to the gym, whether you are, like just getting up and stretching, whether you are, whatever it is, getting up, walking, like doing something physical first thing in the morning, it's something that I think that we can all do. Like even if it's just like getting out of bed and stretching, just something physical, something to get our body moving. Uh, I find to be very important. So again, the first thing that I'm doing, meditation. Second thing that I'm doing is hydration. Third thing that I'm doing is hitting the gym, and then after the gym, I'll go to the sauna and I will meditate in there, or that they've got these massage beds in the gym, so I'm doing that too. So all this stuff, right? Like it's not just like waking up and then hitting the charts, right? Like so, and I think that that's the more important takeaway. It's like doing things to get your mind right, getting your body right, because the mind follows the body. Doing that before before you hit the charts, before you open it up, before you even go and start looking at trades. Like for example, let me share the screen again. Oh, am I still sharing the screen? Oh, it looks like I'm still sharing the screen. Yeah. Oh, that's a pretty cool feature. I could share the screen and then just flip back and forth and show either the screen or come back and show me. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that StreamYard does that. Anyway, so I will before I go and start looking at charts again, right? Like so here are some of my open positions. So before like I just go and I pop open the charts and I start looking at individual trades, like I've already gone through and did the prep from the night before. I've already gotten my mind straight. I've gotten myself energized. I've focused on building energy first thing in the morning. And then after that, well, once I'm in a positive state, then I'll go and I'll review my plan. And then after that, that's when I start to look at the markets. Right? It's not where I'm just rolling out of bed, and that this used to be my process, right? Like this is what I used to do. I used to roll out of bed, right? Look at the phone, check where I'm at in a trailer, like or like just to, well, basically just to like kill time, right? Or either to kill time or to like you're just for entertainment. You pull the phone out of the pocket, you start scrolling through, right? Like, let me know if that's something that you do, right? Caleb, you ever do that? Yeah, you just kind of like scroll through, see a lot like where your trades are. Then maybe in the middle of the day, pop this out of your pocket, right? Like you pop your phone out and you start looking to see where you're at in a trade. Question that that I started to ask myself when I was doing that was like, well, what's serving me? Well, what is my routine, and how is this part of my routine serving me? Is it leading me closer to or further from my goal? And well, what I came to realize is that every time that I would pull my phone out of my pocket and start looking at it, it was it was like a habit that I had developed that was really in no way, shape, or form really serving my goal to like do well at trading or like it wasn't yielding any kind of positive trading results at all. Like every once in a while, like if I'm up on a trade, oh, like there's a nice little boost in the middle of the day. Or if I'm down on a trade, then it's like scrambling to see like, well, why is the trade down? Right? Like it, but it wouldn't lead to any kind of positive result. So that then caused me to start to ask, well, why am I doing those things? Uh, do I need to do those things? And if I don't need to do them, can I just simply change the habit? And that's what started me on this process of changing my habit from pulling out the phone to start scrolling through to see to look at trades to where, to be honest, like if I weren't running a service, I wouldn't be looking at this in the middle of the day at all, really. Like, well, and the way that I manage my trades too, like I've got my trades set up where if the trade triggers, I enter it, right? Like, so that the orders are set with my broker. Then once a trade gets to one of my targets, it's selling automatically. If it gets to my stop, it's stopping me out automatically. So there's really nothing for me to do that as far as managing a trade in the middle of the day goes, not like really at all. So that helps the mindset component of it too. Like as far as hope, fear, and greed come in, but I do want to focus on some of this here too, right? And the question that I have is why does hope, fear, and greed happen right in the middle of the trade? Why does hope, fear, and greed happen right in the middle of the trade? Why do you think it happens right in the middle of the trade? Go ahead, type into the chat. Let me know why you think that hope, fear, and or greed happen in the middle of a trade. Caleb says human emotion, right? Let's hey, here, keep on typing them in. I'm going to write some of them here, right? So the question is, why hope, fear, and greed happen mid trade? So some answers so far. Let's drag that. Oh, that'll be stuck there now. All right. So some answers include human emotion, lack of planning, lack of prep. Very good. What else? Well, what are some other reasons why uh, hope, fear, and greed can happen? I like that you use the word lack, right? Like hope, fear, and greed, or at least I would say hope and fear often come back to a lack of something, don't they? Like something's lacking, whether it's lack of planning, lack of preparation, lack of experience, lack of lack of confidence, right? So you could have all these different lacks here of why uh, why hope and fear tend to happen in the middle of the trade. Uh, Poor research is an interesting one. So what makes it poor? Poor research. I'll write that one down here too. Poor research, but what makes the research poor? Who's judging the research as poor? right? Here's another one, judgment, right? So it's almost as if these two, right? So poor research and judgment are almost tied to this here, right? If we're uh, so maybe the research is poor, right? But who's judging that, and based on what? Based on what? And should we, based on what, against who, right? Like, so what are we judging it against? Is it based is it is the research poor based on prior research that we've done? Is the research poor versus somebody else's research, versus somebody else in our own circle, right? So there's uh do some more drawing over here, right? So there's people in your immediate circle, and then let's say that there's other people over here, right? So let's say that this is social media, and let's say that this up here, these are direct influences, right? So based on what? Based on somebody that randomly tweeted something, or based on something that's like more of a direct influence. Damer's talking about can slim examples. All right. So let's say you've got that you've studied can slim. You know the types of things that should be in your research. Then that's giving you a better metric of like what should be in there. But is it? Oh, why should it be something that's judged in the middle of the trade? Right? Why does that lack of confidence tend to show up? It's all interesting, right? Let's see a bunch of other comments in here too. Caleb says the average trader spends the majority of his or her time vacillating between two emotions, indecisiveness and regret. Yeah, that's great. That's something that sounds like a Mark Minervini quote. I believe he said that. If he didn't say it in Think or Trade Like a Champion, then it was definitely a tweet of his at some point. But yeah, indecisiveness and regret. So let's remove some of this. So we've got some of the reasons why people have hope, fear, and greed in a trade. So let's get rid of that, and so reasons for it included uh, lack of confidence, experience, uh, um, preparation, preparation and research. Was another good one in here too. Um, yeah, lack of planning. All right, so we have those lacks. So then uh, let's ask this. When feeling hope, fear, or greed, where is the focus? Where's the focus when we are feeling hope, fear, or greed? Where is the focus? Is the focus on outcomes? Is the focus on uh, the past, the present, the future? Or where's the focus? Where does the focus tend to be when we're feeling hopeful or fearful in the middle of a trade? How about when we're feeling greedy in the middle of a trade? Well, where is the focus? Well, when we are uh, on a win or a loss. So focusing on win slash loss. We could also say focus on the outcome. That's true. We're focusing on the outcome. What else? What else might we be focusing on? Is it possible that we are focusing on uh, prior losses or prior missed opportunities, right? So prior win slash loss or the past. Caleb says that greed has cost me. I find it much more profitable to plan it out ahead of time and use OCO orders to eliminate the emotion. Still gets greedy. So greed then can still affect us and still affect how we might manage a trade, right? Because well, we could come to a trade, like let's say, let me move this over here, right? And if you guys have a trade that you're in, just go ahead, type it in, and we could talk about a trade that you're in, or maybe a trade that you took recently, or one that you're considering. Until we get an example from you, I'll go look at an example that I'm in right now. So, uh, let's use Sprout as an example, right? So Sprout is a trade that I took yesterday, right on Monday. It broke out and it ran so far. It hit my first scale out here at 110 and change, and it got so far today. It's getting very close to that second scale out at 115 and a half. So with that, it's possible to start to get greedy, right? Like, or even have regret. Like, oh man, like, why did I scale out here? I could be up even more. I maybe I should be doubling down, right? Like, if do those types of thoughts enter your head, like, go type that into the chat. Let me know if those are the types of things that you're thinking of. Those are the types of things that I used to think of too, right? And so then, uh, one question that you might have, like just tactically, is how do I not focus on? How do I get that greed to start to go away? Right? How do we deal with greed? One of the ways that I've learned to deal with greed is by focusing more on stats, right? Like focusing more not just on like the high level stats, but focusing on like going through prior trades and seeing like where well what's the performance of the prior trades. How could the prior trades have been managed differently? Well, what was I thinking throughout the different trades? And so it's focusing more on like process, right? Like being more like an investigator or scientist, where you're going back through and you're doing this post analysis on your past trades to start to see like how could things have been managed differently? What if I would have bet heavier on this trade, or if I wanted to say, well, this trade here was a winner, right? Zip was a nice winner for me. Quick 2 hour gain for the trade in less than 2 weeks. So well, what happens if I would have bet heavier on that one? Well, we don't know which trade is going to be the big winner or the big loser. So then maybe we would need to apply different position sizing rules across the board. Then we start to see like how we can manage things differently, right? Like that then we're starting to get into the how do I manage a trade differently? In what circumstances, right? one of the things that I like to track is the market condition for which a trade is taken, right? So with Zip, here's what Zip did. Right? Let me open up Zip, and you guys can see this here. Right? So with Zip, Zip broke out and zipped straight up and yielded the first and the second scale out on day one, and then ultimately got up to about a 5R trade in there altogether. So then looking back, right? Like, so when we start to look back at some of our trades, and it's like, well, it ran up to 5R, but the overall gain or loss on the trade was 2R. Well, gee, that might not sound as good. And then that might be something where you look back on and it's like, uh, well, you could start to kick yourself, right? Where you start to have feelings of regret. And that's where looking not just at a singular trade, right? Because no one trade should ever make or break us. Now, what we want to do is look at the trade in aggregate and not only looking at it in aggregate. So, like taking a look at this trade, like that's like trade number 102, um, but look at it in terms of everything else that happened for the year. And you could even see too, right? Like how even from the beginning of the year, there's been so much that's been added to the spreadsheet as far as columns and things like that, where like it just keeps on growing. So like anybody that has access to this, it gets more value as it goes. There was even two more columns added just today: the high watermark and the high watermark percentage. Those are important too to see like how far does a trade actually go. Um, so so there's those things inside of a trade that we want to consider, but and that's where the focus where some of the focus should be. But if the focus is on in the middle of a trade, your win or your loss or your prior wins or losses from the past, then where is your focus not? Right? Like it's not in the present. Focus is not in the present, and that's something that tends to screw us up. So when feeling hope, fear, or greed, is the focus in the past, present, or future? Most often, where's the focus? Yeah, ask yourself, well, where is it? Go ahead, type in. Let me know when you're feeling hope, fear, or greed. Where is your focus? Is your focus in the past? Is it in the present, or is it in the future? Past, present, or future? I'll tell you what. Uh, when I felt hope, fear, or greed, most of the time it's come from the past, right? So uh, And so the reason why it was in the past was for the same reason that I just outlined before, right? Where we were talking about like prior trades and seeing like how a trade could have been managed and thinking like, oh, it could have been managed better. Like had I held on to the entire bulk of the trade, had I sized larger, then there would be uh, the gains would have been so much larger. It's it's a focus on the past. Focused on the past. Yeah, if you're focused on the future, right? So if we're focused on the future, I'll put this down here. If we're focused on the future, then some of the what we would say would be things like um, thinking that this trade is going to go to the moon, right? Like where we start to feel greed. Well, let's see that. Uh, Somebody mentioned figs. Yeah, Caleb mentioned figs. Right. So it would be like getting in here. Like, let's say you got a great entry point, like way down here, right near the bottom, and you had a large size, and you're like, man, I think this thing is going to go to the moon, and then you start like projecting forward, thinking that, yeah, I caught the bottom, right? Like, it's a great shakeout over here. I think this thing is going to make fresh all-time highs, and like you start counting your money before it's even in the account. Yet your entry point for Caleb's entry point 35.40. That's a great entry point. That actually is right near the low of the day, right? So right now your risk is only about 2%, and let's say like, I think this trade is going to back up to 50. Then you start thinking like, yeah, wow, that potential 20R trade, it's going to be great. And then like, if you're focused on that outcome, then part of what focusing on an outcome does in trading, it turns our eye towards in turning the eye towards the outcome. We're not looking at the process, right? So let me ask another question here, right? So, where should our focus be? 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 Should it be in the present? Should the focus be in the present? Should the focus be on the process? Should the focus be on any of these other things here? Right? Like, so here's basically what happens, right? So we've got hope, fear, and greed tend to start or be caused by a lack of confidence, because we are focusing on either win or losses, or something that's outcome in the future, or a prior win or loss in the past. So it's something either outcome future based or past based, not looking at the present. And yeah, it's tied to the past or the future, not the present. So what we want to do is being focused on the present. We want to be focused on the process, and it's from there that we eventually get the outcome that we're after, right? So if we're looking at it like this, it's basically moving in this direction. Right? Well, we get this feeling in the middle of the trade, this lack of fill in the blank. We're getting that feeling. We're getting that feeling because we're focusing on something that's not the process. And that thing that we're focusing on is tied to either the past or the future. If in the present we are focused on the process, and we're just keep on executing and doing the process, then that's the thing that eventually leads us to the outcome. So then the problem is really in the order of what we're doing, isn't it? it's kind of like putting the cart before the horse, right? We're focused on the outcome where we should be focused on the process, and the outcome and the process leads to the outcome. We're too worried about the outcome. So every time that we're fearful or greedy or lacking confidence, lacking experience, any of that hope, fear, and greed, it's really all tied to some kind of outcome, whether the outcome is in the past or in the future. So what we want to do is we want to shift, right? We want to shift back to a focus on the process. And we want to do that now, right? So, how do we do that? How do we make this shift from focusing on wins and losses and outcomes and past, future, all that? How do we focus in the present and focus only on the process, focusing only on what's necessary, focusing only on what actually needs to be done? How do we do that? Nikhil says, I've experienced that counting my profits before the price hits the target profit. Yeah, me too. Right? It's challenging. It's it can be very challenging to yeah. Well, you pop open your broker, right? Well, what's the first thing that you see? You start seeing your P&L. It's like right there in your face. You pop open your charting platform. What's there? For me, it's whatever trade happens to be open, right? Like I've got, and I have three different charting platforms that I can look at. I've got this one. I've got the Trend Spider. People over there were kind enough to give me free access to it, and then MarketSmith, right? Like so, all of it is like in your face, right there. So, well, what can you do, right? Like, what's a strategy, or what are some strategies that we can use to get us focused on the process again, right? How can we start moving over here? How can we move to a focus on the process? Here's one very quick tactical thing that I do, right? Well, when I my charts typically don't look like this when I go and open them, right? There's a little button over here if you've got Trading View. Hide all drawings. I have that clicked. So when I'm looking at the trades that I'm in, I'm not looking at it to see like, oh wow, like this is how much I'm up and that's a plan, all that stuff. Like when I'm looking at a trade, when I'm assessing a trade, I'm looking at the charts without anything in it. And then by looking at that, I'm able to look at it more objectively. I'm able to look at it like yes, I do know that I'm in the trade, but I don't know all the little details of it, like, oh, like I entered there and my stop loss is down there, and oh gee, like maybe I should start raising my sell out. Like, yeah, like if all that stuff is there, then I'm more likely to start experiencing all of the hope, fear, and greed right there in that moment. But if all this is off, it's just another chart, right? Like it could be anything. And like, is this a trade that I want to be in? Is this a trade that I want to be in? Those are the types of questions that I'll ask myself towards the end of the day. If something is behaving well or not. And then I will default to my rules to answer some of those questions. I'll default to my plan. And then from there, I could go and take some of the stuff off. What else can we do to move from focusing on wins, losses, um, focusing on outcomes, focusing on either the past or the future? What else can bring us back to the present? Famer says, improve the discipline. That I think that's part of it. I think that part of what makes discipline um, easy for a few and challenging for many is that the focus is here, right? I don't want to put that in green. Like the focus is here, right? Like they haven't truly made the link that this is where you want to be, right? Like that you want to be focused on your process, and then the process is what leads to that outcome, right? If you truly believed that focusing on the process is what will ultimately yield the outcome that you're after, like are you really after winning on this one trade here or this one trade here or whatever trade that you're looking at, right? Like are you really interested in wins or losses on any one of these trades, right? Like no, like what you're really after is this stat right here, right? Like well, where you're looking at, well, what's my total? How much am I up on the year? Or how much am I up over time? And then starting to dig into some of the other stats, right? Like that's why tracking your actual stats are an important part too, and why it should be a part of the process, right? Like if you're focused on your stats and looking at this, and that's becoming a part of the process, you're not focused on any one trade. You're thinking in terms of how does this trade affect my overall stats, right? Like, how does this trade affect my win loss percentage? How does this trade affect uh, my win streak? How does it affect my average winner, my average loser? And do I want to log this? Right? Do I really want to have to log a trade that's sitting at a 3R loss? Probably not, right? Like if you're average loser, like my average losing trade is minus 0.742 R, right? So generally like I'll start out risking like 1 R on a trade, like one times my risk. Like I always look at my risk in terms of R multiples. So on average, when I have a losing trade, I'm losing less than 1 R, right? On my average winner, I'm gaining a little bit more than 2 times what I risk on a trade. So with that in mind, like if I'm looking at this trade, right? Like let's go back to this one here, right? Like this was trade in FA I took uh last week, right? So I've been in this trade now for 4 days, and it's sitting at a loss, right? Like, should I dig my heels in if it starts to head lower, right? Like, let's say for whatever reason I decide to hold this after the close, right? If it let's say it gaps down, right? Like, and the next day, like it's down here, should I still hold on to this trade? Right? Like, I don't want to log it, right? Like that would be a bad log, but wouldn't it have been better to log the loss back here than it would be to have to log it down here if that's part of the problem, right? Like, so if we're focused then on the aggregate and how each individual trade is not like affecting like P&L per se, but how it's affecting the overall stats and where it falls in the overall stats. Maybe this trade here, right? Yes, Sprout. Sprout is approaching my average gain, right? Come back to this. Average winner is a little bit over 2R, right? Should I just take that off and walk away? Should I let the rest run? Well, what should we do here? right? When you are tracking your personal stats and you know not just like your average win and loss and those things are like this is a great start. Part of what I think is worth tracking. I spoke about this at the top of the hour. Was tracking the stats for, well, what are the market conditions, right? And so beyond just what the major indexes are doing, and some of these stats here, new highs versus new lows on the Nasdaq and NYSE, I'm tracking personal performance, right? Like what, now, what are my open trades doing? What's my batting average over the past 10 trades, right? Am I doing better or am I doing worse over time? And as we start to track those things, right, like then we're starting to, our focus is going from an individual trade in the middle of the day and being fearful of what's this trade going to do, to something that is more process oriented, something that's more process oriented. And that's where our focus needs to be. So part of the answer then for moving from this up here, right? Well, where's my mouse? For moving from this down to this is going to be your journaling, your logging. That's really uh, one of the primary things that we could do. And you might look at this. You might look at a spreadsheet like this and say, like, geez, like I don't know how to make something like that. Making like, even if I did have something like this, it would take forever to keep these kind of stats. It really doesn't, right? Like, to be honest with you, like this is something like that I started a process like this many, many, many years ago. Like I've been trading full time now for only about 3 years. I've been trading for over 20. Actually, I think that this is year 22 or 23 that I've been trading. So I've been trading for a real long time. I started with spreadsheets and tracking data like when I was trading part time. Like it's just evolved tremendously over the years. And running a service like has me thinking in ways where, okay, like how can I make this structural, how can I make this better for other people too? So this spreadsheet is something that I share with members, and that they're able to download this and use it, not just to see like, well, what is my trading right now? All right, like these are some of my open trades that I have right now, and what's on the action list, and different trade ideas during the week. But to be able to take this, make a copy of it, delete the stuff that's there, and then you've got your own working trading journal that you could make updates to yourself, right? Like it's not about like the kind of stuff that I'm tracking. What stuff do you want to track? Well, what's important to you? And then you could go and fill in your own data, and it's great. And that's one of the things that's actually a part of the membership. So that is that's really what I've done to help shift my focus from uh, hope, fear, and greed, uh, or how I've managed emotions of hope, fear, and greed mid trade, to having less of them. Right? It's not where it goes away completely. Right? Like I don't think that hope, fear, and greed ever goes away completely, but it's almost like a muscle that gets that we need to exercise over time. If we think about it, right? Like well, when so many, like one of the one of the books that I'm re-listening to, right? And I was listening to it again at the gym this morning. So like that, that's why it's top of mind. Is Tim Ferriss's book Tribe of Mentors? Have any of you guys read that one, Tribe of Mentors? Type into the chat. Let me know if you've read this book. It's a fantastic read. Anyway, one of the things that's in that book that I think that's so important about um, preparation and mindset comes from repetition, and it comes from meditation. And that was actually one of the things that got me to start meditating. And I've been meditating for years now. Um, the results, just like going to the gym too, they take a while for you to get them, but it's with the daily repetition, and it's knowing that the outcome is somewhere in the future, right? Like, so it comes back to this idea, right? That you're uh, so you're for me, like a meditation practice, doing it in the present. I'm focusing on the process, and then it's that process that leads to the future outcome. So we're not focused on one trade making money or not making money. It's in the process that leads to the outcome. So build a system that leads you to your outcome. So how do we build a system that leads to the outcome? Right? So in trading, as far as mindset goes, it's what we spoke about earlier, right? And this is what's worked for me. Uh, Meditation, gratitude, right? This is a newer one that's working for me. Gratitude in to start the day with gratitude, to end the day with gratitude. So, and it could be for gratitude for anything, right? You just start thinking about, like, ask yourself the question, like, well, what am I grateful for? Right? And you'll start to think about things. Well, I'm grateful for you guys being here with me right now. Right? I'm grateful for internet, right? Because it allows me to connect to people all over the world. I'm grateful for uh, a microphone and a camera that's working. I'm grateful for the looks like the fuzziness of the live stream. It's fixed itself. All these things, right? Like, so, like, and then it's easy to get on a roll with gratitude, right? Like, so start the day with gratitude, and then like that helps you start to frame the rest of the day if you're starting from a place of gratitude, versus like you roll out of bed, you pick up the phone, like you start looking at things, then you're in reaction mode, right? Start the day with gratitude, end the day with gratitude, right? We spoke about a lot of different things, right? Like, so here, let me share this screen one more time. On Jarek's in the house. Jarek, so Jarek's the one that taught me, or didn't really teach me, but like this is something that Jarek does all the time when we talk. He'll pop open paintbrush and he'll start making notes in there, and I'll try to follow along. Um, yeah, so let's see, where was I going with this? Yeah, so uh, at the beginning of the day, starting with gratitude, then and it could be in some of these order, right? Like this is basically what I do. Let's see. I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Be annoyed, you stay annoyed. Your focus is trying to find other things that annoy you. It's a hard concept to understand. Seems elementary, but we are humans, right? So it's to piggyback off of what Jerk just said. It's like, why do people uh, why why do people get into like why do people hit the telephone pole? right? You hear about accidents like on a highway and people hit the telephone pole. How the hell do so many people hit the telephone pole, right? The telephone pole is only about this wide, and there's maybe about 100 yards in between each telephone pole. How do they hit something that's this wide? Like there's all this other space. How do they hit that? The reason why is because your focus uh, is on what you don't want. You don't want to hit the telephone pole. So that's where what you end up hitting. So you need to shift your focus to what it is that you actually want. And that's why we want to shift our focus like immediately, like right when we get up towards gratitude, right? And that's why I like to start my day with gratitude and start stacking gratitude in that way, right? Like so, like you asking yourself, like, what are you grateful for? And then like you think of something, and then you could think of something else, and something else, and something else, and what something that I'll often do too, like when I'm driving to the gym in the morning, I'll start saying it out loud, right? So like people, like if it's like 5 in the morning, so like there's not really anybody around, so people might think that I'm crazy otherwise, but like I'm just saying these things out loud, like things that I'm grateful for, and so from there, it's both uh, saying it to myself, but I'm also hearing it, and I'm hearing it again in my own voice. So stacking gratitude, meditation, exercise, and like all those things are like helping us get prepped for the day. And then at the end of the day, right? Like it goes. Uh, we mentioned the trading prep, right? End of day trading prep. End of day trading prep. So it's all this, right? Filling in your logs for the day, looking at your trades, like trying to like starting to write out your notes on each trade, and writing it like updating your plans, like when the market is closed, when the bullets aren't flying. Um, End of day trading prep, and then ending the day with gratitude right before you go to sleep. Like run through that again. Right? Like it's kind of making a sandwich, right? So you've got your on in here, right? Like we don't want to forget like actual uh morning prep for trading, which was reviewing notes from day prior. Then there's not much to do during the actual trading day. Right? There's nothing to do other than execute. Like we don't need to come in the middle of the day and start looking at like, oh, where's this trade, where's that trade? It's just a habit of like picking up the phone and looking at it. And so, well, what did we talk about earlier? How do we break that? First is awareness. Then it's looking at that habit and saying, is it leading me closer to or further from my goal? Right? If we're in agreement that it's actually not helpful, then to change that habit, a great thing to do is to simply replace it with something else, right? Like that's kind of how people try to quit smoking, right? Like people are smoking cigarettes. Oh, well, what do they do? Like they'll switch to chewing gum, doing the vapes, things like that. It's like it's not discarding a habit, it's just replacing it. So if you have a habit of picking up your phone and looking at your trades, well, what could you do in its place? Look at your trading plan might be something. Looking at your stats, working on like doing something that will help your trading, right? Like thinking about like what else can I be tracking in here? Go, how could this if I wanted to bet heavier on a trade, start doing a back testing on all your different trades and seeing like, well, what would have happened if I bet heavier? Like if I bet 2% on each trade instead of 1% on each trade, and doing those kinds of thought projects rather. And then you're going, and then that's the thing that's giving you putting in the reps that, right, like to go back to process, right, like process over outcome. It's putting in that process that's going to lead you to the better results later on. So you're doing that in the middle of the day. Then you've got your end of day prep, which is everything that like what we spoke about here, looking at what the market actually did, generating trade ideas for the next day, and then finally wrapping up the day with gratitude. Let's see, we've got some questions here. Derek says, "Do you check on a schedule or randomly?" So I'll check the market on a schedule. Right? Like I actually have. Let me see if I could check some things here. Yeah, I actually have my calendar here of when I'm looking at the market, right, in blue, and down here, right? So that's really the only time that I should be looking at the market. It's there, it's in the calendar. And then the most of the time is prep. So yeah, it's there, it's in the calendar. Oh, you don't see it. Let me put it back over here. Yeah, this is what my calendar looks like. So yeah, each morning, reviewing trading plans before the market opens, right? Like so, all that other time, like earlier, uh, back over here, right? Actually, this needs to be updated because exercise and stretching and all that kind of stuff is happening 5 days a week, not just 4 days a week for me. So I need to update that stuff. But trading review, then the trades are executing in the middle of the day, towards the end of the day, starting at 3. Yeah, so actually, I'm gonna hop off soon so I could start looking at my open trades and seeing, well, here, right? Like to look at like to look at this trade here, right? Like Sprout, like, well, what's it doing? Like it's in a strong uptrend. It's at the relative strength line is leading. And then I would start to look at, well, how does that relate to the current market? Well, what is my plan with the trade? Is it violating any rules? And I would start to manage it from there. In the morning, uh, you only need 30 minutes. Yep, that's it. It actually it could actually take less than 30 minutes. Actually takes less than 30 minutes because most of it comes from the prep. Most of the prep is done for me is done the night before. Right? So I walk in knowing well what trades I'm going to take. Um the only thing that I really need to do in that 30 minutes is just uh review the plan so that way it's fresh in my head. And if there's any orders that I need to place that from trades that I've already planned out, then I'll do that. And that's really it. There's not much to really do during the day. All right. Uh, Jerk's heading out. Take care, Jerk. Thanks for stopping by. Anybody else? Any other questions? I'm about to hop off. All right. Yeah, actually, it's a 3:05 right now, so I'm going to hop off as well. I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining me on this live stream. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what future topics you would like to hear discussed, and we'll discuss them on the next live stream. Thanks so much for coming again, everybody. Take care. Much love. Peace out.